It's another happy edition of KSR's Rapid Reaction as I sit here with Jack Pilgrim and Zach Gagan. Here is in 3 different locations on StreamYard as we're coming to you on KSR's YouTube channel after Kentucky won a 3rd straight game, this time giving Florida the sweep in the regular season series, winning down in Gainesville, 82-74? Is that our number?
Yes, sir.
Kentucky
Sure
led
is.
by as many as 15 early, got up to 30-15, and it was looking like it was going to be an easy, stress-free night, but we know that is never the case. So Florida clawed back, even led at the half, but in the second half, in a game of runs and waves, different guys. Oscar Tshiebwe leading the game and scoring with 25, but a season-low 4 rebounds. And then the guy I know we all want to start off with, he's kind of becoming a rapid reaction favorite. We had Grandpa Joe just at the last game, but we're starting off by shouting out Chris Livingston and his 15 rebounds for another double-double for Chris. One of those rebounds being the play of the game where he got the offensive board, the putback, and the and one late to stretch Kentucky's lead to where Florida could not come back. Jack Pilgrim, I will let you lead off in our praise of Chris Livingston and the rest of what the Cats did getting this win done down in Gainesville.
John Calipari's best teams are freshman-led. The 5-star All-Americans by season's end almost always kind of carry the ship, and it's exactly what we're seeing with this team. Chris Livingston being the guy. He's just filling into his role absolutely perfectly. Oscar Tshiebwe said after last game that he's doing a great job of kind of holding down the fort, getting 2 or 3 bodies on him at once and leaving open rebounding lanes for everybody else. And Chris Livingston has been the guy to take advantage of that. He goes for 15 rebounds, just embracing that 4-spot, 3-spot, attacking the basket, scoring how he can, taking what the defense gives him. Just a brilliant effort, 4 of 11 shooting. He goes 0 for 3 from the three-point line, but 2 for 3 from the free throw line, the biggest one being off his and one. Finished there in the last minute, basically sealed the game in a game that should not have been that close. But thank goodness that we had Chris Livingston there to save the day. And for him to find his groove the way he has to close out the regular season, it's just that is what gives me confidence going into postseason play, that John Calipari's freshmen are playing like All-American freshmen.
We mentioned Livingston having the 15 rebounds, Oscar having only 4. Toppin helped out in making up where Florida really keyed on Oscar and limited him. Oscar also battled some fumble fingers there a little bit, but Toppin had 11 rebounds, a double-double for him. Really, the whole starting 5 had a huge night, Zach, basically because they played the whole game. They scored all but 4 points. Second half, John Calipari did not make a sub. All the starters played about 38 minutes, 39 minutes, except Toppin got a 5-minute breather. What did you think of Cal really shortening the lineup and how all 5 of those guys played well in different facets of the game?
Yeah, I think it worked out in this game, but it's probably not something that's going to be too sustainable moving forward. It kind of stresses the fact even more that they definitely need one or both of Xavier and CJ to come back, because all 5 starters playing 20 minutes in the entire second half is just, you saw where they kind of dragged down there at the end. And it's just not going to be entirely sustainable, especially moving into tournament time. I know they got to play their best players, and that's what they did tonight to win. But when you're trying to stack wins over and over again in the NCAA tournament, you're going to need guys to come off the bench. So, but it worked tonight because that's just the situation Kentucky was in. They didn't have to go up against Colin Castleton, which really changed things. It allowed Oscar to not be in foul trouble, to kind of have his way. He hit, I think, like 7 or 8 mid-range jumpers. Like, he was just feasting in that area because there was no resistance against him. But I think Jacob Toppin's 11 rebounds, that kid is really starting to come into his own right now. I've got a bunch of stats here that I can rattle off. 11 straight games now with double digits for him. Kentucky is 9-1 this season when he scores at least 15 points. He's shooting 50% from 3 since the SEC season started. He's also played at least 32 minutes in all of his last 11 games. So quietly, Jacob Toppin is becoming Kentucky's most consistent and productive player, which kind of sounds crazy to say. It was his second half performance in this one that really took things over and pushed Kentucky to a win. He's kind of got, an alter ego at this point. He's got the good Jacob and the bad Jacob. We saw kind of the bad Jacob in the first half. But, when you feed a guy another 20 minutes in the second half, he kind of settles himself in, and he didn't appear to be wearing down there at the end. So big, good Jacob Toppin performance in the second half, but they're going to need some help moving forward ultimately. That's for sure.
Yeah, they're going to have to get Frederick and Wheeler back at some point just for fresh legs. You can't expect 40 minutes every night. But speaking of 40, Kentucky had 40 rebounds, almost doubled Florida up in rebounding, which is impressive when Oscar only had 4, and that Florida has a cheat code, and that Jason Jatobo, that dude, I mean, Oscar looked like a little toy figurine next to him. So I guess he still didn't offer much in the game, but Kentucky 15-0, or 15 versus 0 in second chance points. Kentucky 15. Florida did not get any second chance points with only 2 offensive rebounds. Really a big key in pulling ahead in the second half, Jack. We saw Florida erase the 15-point first half lead by hitting 3-pointers. Clearly at the break, John Calipari said, no more of those. And Kentucky came out, expanded their defense, and really limited the looks in the second half.
Yeah, credit to Florida for coming back without Colin Castleton. I mean, you looked in the first 10 minutes of that game, they jump out to a 30-15 lead. And I thought for certain that Kentucky was just going to cruise and go home from Gainesville with a blowout win. And they really fought back, made tough shots, and had guys who don't always get hot. Story of Kentucky seasons. I guess just Kentucky basketball life always has somebody go off. But I like the way Kentucky responded. It was kind of a back and forth game of runs, and Kentucky got the run that mattered most in that last stretch. I appreciate that this team has seen the wheels fall off so often throughout this season, where once kind of they get a haymaker thrown back at them, they just don't know how to respond. This team did prove today that even when Florida was ready to throw a haymaker back, they played desperate basketball. John Calipari said going into the game that this was a team that had nothing to lose, and they played like that, especially late in the first half and opening the second half. So it took a lot for Kentucky to respond back in the way they did, but to close out that game with an 8-point win, you got to be impressed with their effort to close things out.
Now we're 3 games from Nashville. Kentucky's won 3 in a row, looking pretty firm in that number 3 seed. And since we're going to mention Nashville, feels like a great time to shout out our sponsor, Sumner County Tourism. If you're still thinking about making the trip to Nashville, haven't made your plans, the Cats are finally getting you optimistic. You're hoping for a run, and with all that's going on around the conference, Tennessee appears to suck. Alabama's got that thing going on. Maybe Kentucky's there on Sunday. So get down there and consider Sumner County as a unique way to stay. Plenty of options around there, and you can still travel to the arena fairly easily from Sumner County. So check out Sumner County Tourism, and we thank them for sponsoring our rapid reaction. And now, Zach, I think we need to discuss the not play of the night. Was the Florida fan intentionally choking Kaysen? Was it an accident? I kind of think he didn't have a reason to stick his arm out, and he was kind of looking for trouble. You could argue it was an accident. The internet seems to be divided. I think it was intentional. I want to get both your takes. The guy was ejected and probably ruined alcohol in the SEC for everyone. But, Zach, we'll start with you on what you thought about that.
Yeah, I can see why some might say it looked accidental, but the one view I saw where he was pretty much forcefully wrapping his arm around, like he could have just easily left his arm off, and instead he clearly stiffened his arm up and was pretty much trying to, he would have tried to choke hold him if he had an extra second there, but he quickly realized, he's like, oh, I probably shouldn't be doing that because I'm touching a player while I'm sitting on courtside. So I think it was clearly intentional, and there was a very good reason they all got kicked out, whether they left on their own or just were forced or removed forcibly by arena security. But Kaysen didn't seem to mind too much, so as long as he's perfectly fine. But yeah, those Florida fans definitely they probably cost themselves at least games going forward the rest of the season, and probably years moving forward as well. So not a good look from them, that's for sure.
What is it with Florida fans? They got Doug fired in Rupp Arena for dry humping towards the eruption zone. Now they're down here tackling players. Jack, what is going on with these kids in Gainesville?
And my frustration was the guy next to him, hugged Kaysen after the fact, after the whole thing started. He was the guy that hugged him, and then the arm chokehold happened, and that's what everybody's kind of forgetting. And I'm pretty sure that guy was able to stay and watch the rest of the game from his seat. So that was the one that frustrated me, because I was like, is anybody not going to notice the guy that hugged Kaysen, holding him back, and then that led to the chokehold? So yeah, I don't know what it is with Florida fans, that they're being obnoxious, and we're still free Doug over here, but yeah, I don't know what it is about him. I'm glad that hopefully we don't have to play Florida again this season, especially without Colin Castleton. I'm good with the sweep. Let's keep it as is.
Well, my thing is, like, you can brace yourself, like if a player's coming out, you can like brace yourself like that. But once you start putting your hands out, that's when that's the no land. So I think this just, even if it was accidental, if you want to say that, just, you can't put your hands on players when you're sitting courtside. That's the easiest way to get thrown out of any sporting event.
It's certainly frowned upon. And if Doug had been there, he would have given him the double bird, because that's what Doug does. But we'll close the book on Kentucky, Florida with that. Coming up next, we're back home for 2 games. We got Auburn on Saturday. I'm like Coach Cal. Who do we play?
Who knows?
Like every post game, Cal's like, I don't even know who we play next. I had a brain fart there. I guess we have Auburn at home, then Vandy, then the one to Arkansas. Let's quickly get your predictions for the final 3 games, guys.
Ooh, that's a tough one. I'm going win. I like it. I think we're going to get CJ. I think we're getting CJ Frederick back this weekend. Still have no idea about Xavier Wheeler. I don't think UK even knows when Xavier Wheeler is coming back. But we're at least getting CJ back to space the floor a little bit, add another shooting threat out there. I do feel confident that adding him to the rotation is going to kind of add to the spacing and add to the shooting. And he's going to find his groove that we've been waiting so desperately all season long. He just hasn't been able to find his footing. So I'm really excited to see him. And I think they're going to continue this momentum the last 3 games. And that's a lot of quad 1 wins. 10 days ago, we woke up on that Sunday morning with 1 quad 1 win and 7 losses. And now we could be closing out the regular season with 7. So unreal finish for the season.
Yeah, if I have to make my prediction, I really think it comes down to how good is Nick Smith Jr. going to be for Arkansas. He's kind of going to be that X factor coming in. So if they've got 4 really, really good guards for Arkansas, I'm not sure I can push myself to give Kentucky a win for that one yet. But I definitely think Auburn and Vandy, they've got those locked up. I think the bigger question is who's going to be at senior night, who's going to be going through all the senior night activities for, I guess that will be the Vanderbilt game, I would imagine. So that's really what I think that's going to be the most interesting part of these last 3 games, in my opinion, because I think Kentucky's pretty much locked up their spot in the NCAA tournament. At this point, it's fighting for, if you want to try and get yourself up to a 6 seed or what have you, or maybe if they can just be content with a 7 or 8 seed, I'd be fine with that as well. So a 2-1 finish wouldn't be bad. And then let's see who's going through the senior day stuff. That's really what I'm thinking about here these last few games.
I've thought all along they lose to Arkansas, but this new Chris Livingston's got me thinking thoughts and dreaming dreams, and I'm not afraid of anybody with Chris Livingston getting double-doubles, little 11 and 15 here and there on Florida. So bring on Arkansas, bring on Vandy, bring on Auburn, bring on the SEC tournament. We want all the smoke. But for right now, shout out again to Sumner County Tourism and everyone who followed us here on yet another Rapid Reaction. Hit subscribe. A lot of you all did that to get us to 18,000. If you're here now and haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Let's get to 19,000. And we'll see you on Saturday, hopefully discussing a win after Kentucky beats Auburn. Until then, go Cats.